Tonight on News 5 Live, fewer COVID cases, but far from contained. We'll break down the numbers 1 month after the new regulations. New travel requirements in the U.S. could deal another blow to tourism. Prime Minister's wife appointed special envoy, and we'll tell you about a new initiative to gift 12 new houses to 12 deserving families. Details of these stories and much more coming up in tonight's newscast.
It's a fact that you can access unlimited services with Smart. Tired of being measured or
My name is Kira Pinello. I was born in Belize City and I moved around a lot until I settled here in Belmopan. I'm technically a second-generation insurance agent. My grandmother was in the industry for over 40 years. I saw the love she had for what she did and the love she had for her customers. It wasn't just about providing a service, but it was about creating friendships. I am your neighbor, I am your friend. I am your RF&G agent.
Find your nearest RF&G agent on our website at rfginsurancepolice.com, where it pays to get it right.
Good evening and welcome to News 5 Live for Friday, January 22nd. I am Sabrina Daly. Several government officials have confirmed that there should be an adjustment to the existing COVID-19 regulations at the start of next month. We don't know the details of those changes as yet. But with all the talk about the curfew, whether it is unconstitutional or needs to be adjusted, we decided to take a closer look at the results of the past month's enhanced measures to curb the spread of the virus. When the regulations came into effect on December 20th, there were over 1,500 active cases countrywide. And today, that number is down to 425. While that is a notable reduction in active cases, it does not mean that the country is entirely out of the woods. This afternoon, Acting Director of Health Services, Dr. Melissa Diaz-Musa, provided an update on Belize's COVID-19 crisis. She says that while there is optimism based on lower numbers over the past 2 weeks, there should also be caution because of the overall positivity rate. News 5's Isani Caetano reports.
It has been a month since new measures were implemented by the government of Belize to combat the spread of COVID-19 in the country. The number of new cases fluctuated initially before trending downwards in the past few days. While there is a steady decrease in the percentage of all coronavirus tests performed that are actually positive, the Ministry of Health says that we do not have a handle on the situation just yet.
Over the last month, since we've had the new restrictions in place, we have noticed that there is a decrease in the positivity rate almost consistently. This can be attributed to the restrictions, but as well, there are many factors that help a country to reduce its positivity rate. And we have embarked in the massive rollout of rapid testing and mobile clinics doing testing. So not only waiting at our flu clinics for patients to come in, but we have actually now gone out to many villages, towns, town centers, to different places in order to try to detect the person who is positive and isolate that person quickly.
Dr. Melissa Diaz-Musa, the Acting Director of Health Services, in observing the trend, remains hopeful, but recognizes the challenges in minimizing the positivity rate and maintaining it at 5%.
Well, we are cautiously optimistic, and we're very pleased with the numbers coming down in Orange Walk and Corozal. In fact, in the entire country over the last week, the row which tells us how many persons would become infected if one person is infected is below 1. So that is very good, but that's not to say that we have control of this pandemic. And this is very important for the general public to know. You've got to have a positivity rate of consistently less than 5% for at least 28 days for us to say we have good control. Now the rates have fluctuated and it has come down to under 20%. And over the last 2 weeks, mostly it would be 10%, 11%, but the range is from as low as 6 and going back up to 19%. And of course, this depends on how many tests were run that day, how many mobile clinics were done, lots of different factors.
As with any other illnesses, detecting COVID-19 in its nascence allows for individuals to be quarantined earlier, thereby mitigating its spread.
The earlier that we're able to detect a case, the earlier we're able to isolate that case, and the earlier we're able to manage that person. So these 3 factors are very important in controlling the spread.
In critical areas where the disease has taken hold, the Ministry of Health and Wellness has had to introduce mobile clinics. An abundance of caution has also prompted the testing of frontline workers afflicted with other illnesses.
Every day we wait to see the trend and we reach out to all our teams doing the testing, going to mobile clinics and try to get some data and information. And if we do see areas where we think transmission is higher, we would focus a lot in those areas. So like rolling out more mobile clinics, doing the expanded active surveillance. So now if somebody comes to the clinic for something else, but they're a frontline worker, they work at the supermarket, they work at the banks, they're in one of the ministries dealing with the public, construction sites. These people are also considered people at high risk, so they would also be asked to do a swab, even if they're asymptomatic.
Reporting for News 5, I am Isana Cayetano.
On Thursday, the new U.S. President Joe Biden signed a flurry of executive orders within his first 24 hours in office. But one of those executive orders can have grave consequences for tourism-based economies like Belize. The Biden administration now requires a recent negative COVID-19 test result before departure and quarantine on arrival as per the CDC guidelines, which is 10 days. Since the announcement, hoteliers have been reporting cancellations. It is another blow for the tourism industry that is already struggling to survive. News 5's Hippolyta Novello reports.
An executive order signed by President Joe Biden on Thursday is raising concerns for tourism-based economies. In Belize, several hoteliers report that tourists are canceling reservations due to the new CDC guidelines for persons traveling to the USA.
When this news was broken, we started to see a flood of cancellations.
And that's because the executive order mandates that anyone traveling to the U.S. must produce proof of a recent negative COVID-19 test before entry. The executive order also mandates that travelers to the U.S. are required to comply with other applicable CDC guidelines concerning international travel, including recommended periods of self-quarantine or self-isolation. But that is where it gets confusing, says BTIA President Stuart Crone.
The problem seems to be more one of confusion on the part of people holding reservations. They don't want to cancel. They don't want to postpone. They want to travel, but they're just not sure what's going on. And I'm not speaking about the testing part. The testing part, we can answer their questions very easily because, as you are aware, both the public and private sector has reacted very quickly in terms of getting testing sites set up. So that is really the testing, apart from the expense, is not so much the problem.
The concern for tourists is the likelihood that they will need to quarantine for up to 10 days upon return to the U.S. Crone says this executive order attempts to scare U.S. citizens into not leaving their country.
The impression that I'm getting is this is kind of let me call it a scare tactic. They clearly don't want Americans to travel abroad and presumably come back with this new variant of COVID-19, this new variant of the virus. But if you think about it, the United States, out of all the countries in the world, really has the highest rate of COVID-19. And we all know that the variant is certainly in the United States and will certainly multiply. So why they think that someone from Belize or Jamaica or anywhere in the world is going to somehow contaminate their country in which the virus is already out of control, it does not seem to make a whole lot of sense. It seems like this latest executive order is kind of trying to scare people to stay home.
And if tourists stay home, so do the American dollars. And right now, those in the industry need those dollars, especially since the tourism industry remains on its knees, struggling to bounce back. To keep bookings alive, Crone talks to his guests in a frank manner.
Tell them, you know what? Do you really think the federal government is going to follow up after you get home? They're going to come knock on your door to see that you're staying home? This doesn't seem sensible. The United States has much more important things to worry about right now, including an insurrection by their own citizens. So you don't want to tell people to just disregard this thing, but to tell you the truth, it doesn't look like it's very serious.
However, what is serious is the negative effects it can have on an already weakened tourism industry.
It will definitely have a negative impact because there are many travelers, and I don't blame them, that are going to be a little bit frightened by this thing. I'm not about to tell my clients that the government is going to check up on them. I can show them what the whitehouse.gov says. It's not clear to me that government is going to go check up on them. To me, it sounds like a lot of legal gibberish that is trying to scare people. But I don't know if you have time today, but you might want to call the U.S. Chargé d'Affaires and ask him what the heck is going on. Let him read the thing and ask him what he thinks of it, because it makes absolutely no sense to me.
News 5 contacted the U.S. Embassy in Belize for clarification, and they referred us to the CDC website. Reporting for News 5, Hipólito Novello.
Initially, Belize's health and tourism sector were already preparing for the testing requirements for return travels to the United States. The Ministry of Health approved additional COVID-19 testing sites in Belize City and popular tourist destinations. One of the ministry's other undertakings is the active surveillance for the newly discovered variants of COVID-19. Belize cannot test for the specific strains of the virus, but the ministry has sent samples to Baylor College of Medicine and Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARPHA, to determine if the highly transmissible strains detected in the United Kingdom and South Africa are in Belize. Until then, the Ministry of Health and Wellness, along with its counterparts in the private sector, continues to administer thousands of PCR and rapid tests without confirming the particular strain of the virus spreading across the country.
When we started the new measures with regards to the rolling out of the rapid testing, etc., we did see a very good response in the beginning. So at one point, they had some days where over 100 persons had showed up to be tested. Over the last week, this number has come down, And for that reason, we want to expand the surveillance. So go out and look for persons who may be ill in order to manage them early and in order to isolate them, these persons early. So over the last, in total, we've done almost 70,000 tests in country. That includes rapid tests and PCR. And we have, out of that, we've completed over 30,000 rapid tests already. So the rapid test drive has been pretty successful, and we hope to continue to ensure that testing is rolled out all over the country and that persons access the facilities or the mobile centers and get the test done. Don't shy away from being tested. It's very important for you to know so you can even protect your loved ones, the vulnerable persons in your home.
Thanks to the Taiwanese embassy in Belize, there can be even more rapid test drives. That's because on Thursday, the Embassy of Taiwan handed over a donation of 15,000 COVID-19 antigen rapid tests to the Ministry of Health and Wellness. The gift comes at a value of 300,000 Belize dollars. The tests were developed by ForaCare, a Taiwanese company, and can determine results in less than 15 minutes. The ministry recognizes that this donation will enhance the ministry's capacity to test and provide a timely response to affected persons. Ambassador Remus Lee Kuo-shen handed over the tests during a small ceremony during which CEO Dr. Daisy Mendes expressed the government's appreciation for Taiwan's assistance, especially during the pandemic. When we come back, the UDP says it's ready for Corozal Bay by-election. The Corozal Free Zone reopens on February 1st. The reopening is one of the campaign promises that the PUP made before the election. Since the new government made the decision, an interministerial committee that includes the Health, Home Affairs, Agriculture, and Tourism ministers has been reviewing plans and protocols for a safe reopening. Businesses must have adequate health safeguards. 15 trained compliance officers were hired to monitor these businesses, and a walk-in tunnel and temperature monitor will be placed at the entrance. OIRSA personnel will disinfect all vehicles before allowing access to the zone. The free zone will be opened to Mexican nationals only, and only 1/3 of the staff are allowed to return. These details were released via a press release on January 14th, but it seems that the opposition didn't get the details.
There are major concerns that the people of this country have. I would imagine the people in the north especially. And we have not heard the details of what security measures, safety measures will be put in place to ensure the safety of our people. We are told that over 1,000 Belizean workers will return to the free zone. And they made the point that it is less because it was at one point about 3,000 people. But there is no concrete plan. Nothing has been shared with us, and we are within days of the reopening of that free zone. And if that is the case, there's going to be yet again a serious outbreak of COVID-19. I want to make it clear that the UDP is not against operations of the free zone. In fact, we endorse that. We feel that can be helpful to the economy bouncing back. In fact, we are told now that the new strain of COVID-19 is in Mexico, and that can signal the start of a whole new ball game. So my point was that we need to hear a very early, we can't wait until February 1st, we need to hear what those security and safety measures are going to be so that we are able to have our people ready.
But according to Acting Director of Health Services, Dr. Melissa Diaz-Musa, the Ministry of Health and Wellness is still consulting with stakeholders ahead of the reopening. But the final say rests with the ministry.
At this point, we are meeting with the stakeholders. We're actually planning to take a trip to the free zone to give our recommendations with regards to the safe way that the free zone can reopen. I don't think that anything is set in stone as yet with regards to the reopening date, etc. But at least the recommendations that will come from the Ministry of Health has to be discussed further, and these things have to be in place before the free zone can be opened. That's our recommendation. That's our recommendation, that the things that we stipulated, the things that we recommend has to be in place prior to the free zone being open.
On Wednesday, Corozal Mayor Rigoberto Veos renegotiated the $1.377 million contract with UDP contractor Aimer Hernandez. The agreement was signed between the former UDP Mayor Gilberto Campos and Aimer Hernandez Development Company in February 2017 for 10 years. Since taking office, Veos complained that the contract was unsustainable because between January and March of each year, employees' salary had to be sacrificed because the entire government subvention to the council had to be used to honor payments for the contract. The new terms of the agreement will lower payments but extends the completion year. Veos says that the renegotiation now allows for a significant restoration of salaries for council workers affected by COVID-19 measures.
2 years and change, or close to 3 years, January to March, we were paying a little over $30,000 every single month. And for those 3 months, it used to add over $90,000 that used to go straight to Aimer Hernandez's account. We renegotiated, and I can tell you that now we will only be paying a total of $22,000 between January and March 22, compared to the $90,000 that we used to pay every 3 months. If we add it up and do the math, we will save over $70,000, right, within those 3 months, right, which is very good. It will allow us to breathe a bit more.
Voter registrations for persons wanting to participate in the upcoming municipal elections ends on Monday, January 25th. With the deadline for registration looming, the Elections and Boundaries Department has issued a public notice that all offices countrywide will be open on Saturday, January 23rd from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. The weekend shift is to accommodate all those Belizeans over 18 who wish to vote in the Wednesday, March 3rd, 2021 elections. And while those preparations are underway, the United Democratic Party and the People's United Party still have not finalized all their slates for the upcoming elections. There are 9 municipalities across the country, and so far, the UDP has only formally named its Belize City ticket. The PUP is yet to introduce its candidates formally. Earlier this week, Prime Minister John Bersenio commented briefly on the delay in presenting its slate and responded to concerns raised from the Orange Walk councillor who did not make the slate.
You never take any elections for granted and never take any elections as an easy election because you can never predict what the electorate is going to do. You need to respect them and you need to ensure that you put in good candidates that will be able to represent the people in the different municipalities well and admirably and do the work for them. And that's what we've been doing. We've been going through a process in ensuring that we could find good candidates, and that's what we've been doing.
Leaving Harish Vaswani out in the Orange Walk slate is going to hurt your chances there?
No, I don't think it will because Harish is a PUP and Harish is going to continue to work for the PUP. Oh, no, his people are going to come out and they're going to vote for the PUP Town Council because the PUP Town Council in Orange Walk has worked well. It has been a successful one of the most successful councils in the entire country. And people want to continue to see that kind of work being done in Orange Walk Town.
With the municipal elections a little more than a month away, the opposition United Democratic Party has only finalized one slate here in Belize City. Creme News reporter and anchor Orson Pickart is leading the UDP slate as the mayoral candidate. But on March 3rd, there will also be a by-election in the Corozal Bay constituency to replace the recently elected David Dito Vega, who died from COVID complications in December. Opposition leader Patrick Faber says that the UDP is backing former Corozal Mayor Gilberto Campos for the constituency.
When we received the applications, there were in excess of 27 applications for councillors and 4 for mayors. And we initially toyed with talking to some people to ask them to not run. And people said we wanted a more democratic opportunity, which the party and the leadership gave, and we are very, very satisfied with the outcome. We had decided that, in fact, Gilberto Campos will be our candidate in Corozal Bay. So, and I'll tell you that that comes with the full support of Pablo Marin. And we did not have a fight. The PUP are having some kind of, in fact, all kinds of grumblings going on there. They are trying to force fit a candidate to try to get some kind of sympathy or name recognition and all of that. That's not the case in the UDP.
Still to come, PM's wife outlines her plans as the new special envoy.
This message has been brought to you by the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Today, the wife of Prime Minister John Briceño was officially appointed the Special Envoy for the Development of Families and Children. Rosana Briceño, an educator by profession, is an advocate for special needs and helped develop a program for students with diverse abilities at the St. Peter's Anglican School in Orange Walk. Flanked by her husband, the Minister of Human Development, and other government officials, the new Special Envoy shared her plans. News 5's Dwayne Moody reports.
School teacher and principal Rosana Briceño is the new Special Envoy for the Development of Families and Children for Belize.
It is my hope that through this office, I can use my voice to bring greater priority to the development of our children. Of course, for this to happen, all of us must appreciate and understand the important role all families play in the development of our nation. I want to help John's government give the generation the best chance at success, and I believe that this can happen if we recognize the crucial role the family plays in the formation of our children and in the building of productive communities and societies.
There are many issues that the wife of the Prime Minister wants to tackle. During an inaugural ceremony held virtually today, she spoke of 4 main projects in 2021 that in her mind would help not only women and children, but the entire family unit.
First, there's awareness of the condition of families and children in Belize with a view to improving the lives of the most underprivileged among us. Second, to work with government, civil society, and the private sector to address and meet the challenges faced by families and children. Third, to advocate for the improvement of our women and children at home and abroad. Fourth, to make sure that the plans and obligations for the protection and advancement of families and children that are a part of my husband's agenda and for these are realized.
The family unit is a most precious resource. It is considered the backbone of any country. The new PUP government intends to demonstrate just how much it values families and children. Through the Ministry of Human Development, under which the Special Envoy's office falls, there is a renewed focus on people. Now Minister Dolores Balderramos Garcia was the first Special Envoy for Women and Children.
Other aspects in the ministry that we will be giving special attention to and priority include women, of course, children. We want to focus on the elderly. We want to focus on persons with disabilities. And we, of course, want to join our soon-to-be appointed Special Envoy in all the priority areas that she will undertake.
The Office of the Special Envoy for the Development of Families and Children will push government to identify and provide COVID relief for women who have been adversely affected by this dreadful virus. Presently, scores of women have lost husbands and partners and are grieving without access to appropriate counseling or worse, unaware of how they will take care of their families. More than half of those unemployed, over 60,000, are women, and many of those are the only providers for their children. We must not let these women suffer alone. We will seek ways to provide assistance and support them and their families. We have to teach our children how to properly wear a mask and learn the necessary hygiene before they return to the classrooms. And before we open the schools, the Office of the Special Envoy will work closely with the Ministry of Education and other stakeholders to start the study and assessment to develop a sustainable feeding program.
Special Envoy will not be making a salary, but will retain employment as principal at St. Peter's Anglican School in Orange Walk.
You don't get paid. I mean, well, at least you get $10. And she said, well, let me tell you what, Sonny, I am not resigning from my work. I love my work. I love my children at St. Peter's, but I also need a salary. I want my own money. So we came up with a good compromise, and she met with the Anglican management. And Bishop, thank you very much. You're making my life easier, that you're allowing her to continue to work and keep her salary.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
Special Envoy Briceño has a bachelor's degree in special education and 2 master's degree, one in educational leadership and another in curriculum development and diagnostic assessment. Today's event also included the launch of the new logo of the Office of the Special Envoy. The Inspiration Center at Mile 1.5 on the George Price Highway provides health and therapy services to children with disabilities. It was created by the former Special Envoy, Kim Barrow, back in 2012, but the institution remains underfunded. At today's press conference, we asked about the potential for collaboration with the existing NGO.
We're still learning about all the partners that are out there. The only thing that I would like to say to the media and the Belizean people is that we are hoping to integrate and not sort of rob from one another, because I believe that if we can integrate our services, we will be able to pool the partnerships better so that we don't duplicate. And I only wish to add that, but we are willing to work with all the partners that are out there.
On Thursday, the new Minister of Indigenous Peoples Affairs addressed the Caribbean Court of Justice and stated that her appointment signals a new day of respect for our Maya sisters, brothers, and other Indigenous people. On the same day, Minister Dolores Balderramos Garcia and her team also met with the National Garifuna Council leaders. The meeting allowed both sides to be brought up to speed, that is, on the accomplishments of preserving the cultural heritage of the Garifuna people in Belize and the plans going forward. News 5 spoke with NGC project coordinator Melissa Zuniga, who says that the meeting was very promising.
We had a memorandum of understanding that was signed in July of 1999, and so we wanted, the terms of that memorandum of understanding to be honored, and that includes respect for our territories, to work together in good faith, and also for us to for Belize, to sign on to the ILO 169, which looks at Indigenous people. So that was one of the specific requests that we made, because it will benefit not only the Garifuna, but also the Maya, who are Indigenous persons. And as well, we spoke about the impact of the Maya land rights case and the precedents that will set, not only for the Mayas, but also for Garifuna persons and their territories in Belize.
Borrowing $1 million a day. It's not such a bad thing. We'll have that story after the break.
Play, make a bingo.
in partnership with the British High Commission.
At their press conference on Thursday, the United Democratic Party said it would sue the Briceño administration over the land matter brought to light during the sitting of the House of Representatives earlier this month. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Natural Resources Cordell Hyde revealed that the past government paid $6 million to Barbara Harris in September 2020 for 26 acres of mangrove land in the Balama area. That land was subdivided to distribute to more than 120 persons. However, that was never done. 13.9 acres of that land was sold to Patrick Faber's former campaign manager, Roosevelt Blades, for a measly $23,000 to be held in trust for the people of Colette. That was not a convincing explanation for Minister Hyde, who said that Blades' payment for the land would not be accepted because the land belongs to the government and people of Belize. UDP attorney Orson Elrington says that Minister Hyde is wrong and has prepared a letter informing him of their intention to sue the government.
There was a decision made by the Lands Department to put it in trust for the people of Colette. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But beyond that, it is not for Cordell nor any other member of the PUP to say they do not like an agreement which was rightfully and legally entered into by a previous government because they don't like it and they want to have the opportunity to decide who they want to distribute it to. That is not for them to decide. There are legally binding agreements with the government of Belize which are binding and for which this administration must ensure that they follow through on. So again, that is another live issue for which they will similarly, shortly, receive in fact, if they have not yet done so, they will be receiving it before the end of today, a pre-litigation letter.
From defending the land transactions to defending his predecessor's borrowing, while criticizing Briceño's economic response, Faber defended the Barrow administration's daily million-dollar borrowing to meet the wage bill. Faber says it was not a bad thing.
If it is, Mr. Prime Minister, that it is costing you $1 million a day, why is it that almost now 3 months into your term, nothing has changed? You continue to find that $1 million. In fact, one member of the media indeed asked that question and he did not relent from it. He owned to the fact that we still continue to borrow at least $1 million a day in order to pay these salaries. But he's afraid to make any kind of major moves because he's afraid of the outcome of the election. He's afraid that he will be brought out to be disingenuous, as we've always said. They thought it would be easy to pay the public servants. They criticized the Prime Minister's borrowing, which was not a bad thing, in order to keep money and bread in the hands, in the mouths, if you will, of the public servants of this country who continue to spend and keep the economy going. It was not a bad thing, but because they were so gung-ho about politicizing everything, they made a blunder of it, and now the shoe is on the other foot.
The legal year 2021-2022 was officially opened on Monday. But unlike the many years in the past, this year, the official ceremony and speeches were pre-recorded and aired in a virtual ceremony. During the speeches, the Chief Justice, Attorney General, and President of the Bar Association would express concerns, reveal issues, and applaud achievements relating to the justice system. In her address, Acting Chief Justice addressed recently tabled legislations. Arana said that it is the hope that these pieces of legislation do not constitute shared political posturing at the judiciary's expense, or worse, a deliberate attempt by the legislator and the executive to erode the sacred principle of independence of the judiciary. She then reminded the Briceño administration of the financial constraints that the judiciary has been dealing with for many years. The United Democratic Party agrees with the CJ during Thursday's press conference. UDP Senator Sheena Pitts called out Attorney General Magali Marin Young for what Pitts says was a tone-deaf address to the judiciary's concerns.
It is most unfortunate, however, that the Honorable Attorney General's remarks in response were laced with rhetoric, purpose for political mileage, and expediency which undressed and perhaps demoralized an already demoralized judiciary. It was invariably tone deaf to the responsibility of this government to fix the problem, but seemingly a trumpet-loud aggrandization of the PUP's manifesto. The Bar Association input did little. The Bar Association echoed the government on describing the problem in great detail. They expressed an expectation of a modernized court system. They expressed that we should be looking forward to quality recruitment of judicial officers. And surprisingly, the Bar Association publicly made statements couched together in such a way as to suggest that the Court of Appeal is in effect denying justice to litigants, which is offensive to the court, judges, and the judiciary on a whole. The United Democratic Party decries this political commentary unbefitting of the solemn occasion of the opening of the judicial year. The United Democratic Party further denounces the apparent emphasis on impending legislation, punitive at its core, which leaves in its wake the inference of an unlimited executive open to interfering with the independent judiciary. It must be and cannot be overemphasized by this United Democratic Party that the rule of law is immutable.
Heritage Bank's 20th anniversary, and they're giving away houses. We'll tell you more when we come back.
El 11 de marzo, la Organización Mundial de
12 new homes for 12 deserving families. It is a charitable initiative that Heritage Bank Limited is undertaking. The donation is in celebration of the bank's 20th anniversary. In partnership with Hand in Hand Ministries, the bank has committed to donating 1 new home each month this year. According to a bank release, customers who earn less than $1,200 a month and have a clear housing need will qualify to apply. Director of Finance and Administration at Heritage Bank, Crispina Bradley, shared the details this morning.
Since we are celebrating our 20th anniversary this year, the board and executive management have decided to focus on an area of great need in our country, that of housing. This year, instead of building 1 home, we are partnering with the Hand in Hand Ministries to build houses for deserving customers of Heritage Bank, up to a value of $20,000 each, in line with the number of years we are in existence. We intend to build 1 house per month in 2021. In order to apply, we advise that applications are available at all branches countrywide and on the bank's website. Customers can drop off completed applications at their nearest branch. An independent committee comprising of representatives of the bank and Hand in Hand Ministries will vet the applications against set criteria. I now introduce you to the Development Director of Hand in Hand Ministries, Mrs. Magnolia Vargas, to say a few words.
A great cultural anthropologist by the name of Margaret Mead said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world indeed. It's the only thing that ever has." This partnership with us at Hand in Hand Ministries has certainly proven that to be true. For indeed, the world has changed for the 4 families that Heritage Bank Limited has built a home for, and the 200 families they provided flood relief for.
And that's the news. Tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/News5Live. I'm Sabrina Daly. Thanks for joining us, and from all of us here at News 5, please remember to wash your hands, keep your social distance, and stay safe. Good night.